Hey guys, welcome back to the taco shop. Today we're going to do a 2-inch leveling kit on the front because when we did our old Man Emu lift, if you've been following along, I'll leave a link down to the video below. It's the one where I racked my leg up. Anyway, if you've been following along, there is a difference still in height. I'll show that to you here shortly. But we're going to put in a 2-inch leveling kit and see if we can get this thing leveled up a little bit. And I still have a tiny bit of tire rub in only a certain way that I turn the wheel. So we're hoping to eliminate that as well. Let's get started.
Hello, and welcome to Midlife Crisis. My name is Aaron, and I invite you to follow along with me and my son Austin on our journey as we build out a few camper vans and customize a new Toyota Tacoma into a beast. Then later in the year, we'll head out to Southeast Asia to ride a couple of adventure bikes through multiple countries, sharing the amazing experience with our viewers and ending our tour in Thailand. There, we will decide what to do next. Maybe buy a sailboat and sail around the world. Who knows? So please hit subscribe and follow us on this adventure.
Okay, so we've gone ahead and done the other side. We've already dropped the pan underneath the front end here because we have to get to the camber bolts that are right here, and you just want to loosen those enough so that you can drop the lower control arm. We're basically doing all this to put this little bracket on top of this strut. After we take this out, we'll put that on, and then this will end up bolting up in there, giving you that additional space that we need. So to do that, we're going to we've already taken out the sway bar attachment here, but we got to take this castle nut off. We have to take both of our bolts off down here to the lower control arm. We have to loosen, like I said, the camber bolts, and that should be it. And then of course these three up here. So I'll get to doing that, and then we'll get right back with you and show you where we are. Got some slave labor here.
I don't get paid for this.
He's taking the bolts off the top of the strut, and then I got him taking the other ones off so we can get going. I just thought I would show you that Austin does do work too.
I try my best to get away with not doing work.
And we're out. Okay, as you can see, we have removed the 2 bolts from the bottom of the lower control arm to allow it to drop. We've got our stand holding our wheel assembly here so it doesn't rip out our cords. They are a little tight, so you got to be careful. And then that allowed the strut to drop out of the top, and we're basically going to get our piece put on there right now, and then we'll get it back up in there and show you what it looks like. So we've bolted our leveler on here. We used some Loctite and the impact wrench and wrenched them down really good and tight. The problem is, when this came out, these 2 bolts were right here in these 2 forward holes, so this bottom portion lines up with the lower control arm. So now we want to keep the old Man Emu and or the stamping on here facing out from the vehicle as instructed by old Man Emu. So we're going to have to rotate this that way once we get this mounted in there to keep this as close to the front as possible. So anyway, we're just going to drop this in here. And spin it around. Oh, it would help if I had the bolts to hold it in first. Oops.
Just watch it slide down.
Let's try that again. Let's see. There we go. And remember, you only want to tighten these bolts down up top, just randomly as tight as you can get them. I mean, finger-wise, because you can't tighten them down until you drop the vehicle on the wheels, and that will force it up into its position, and then you can wrench it down from there. That's the last step after putting the wheels and dropping it down to the ground. And then of course torquing your wheels down and torquing all this stuff down as you go along. Okay, so we got that in there. Now I need to turn this thing. And to do that, I'm going to use my screwdriver. And a lot of grunting. Jesus. Come on. Not easy. And you want to do this while you have everything dropped, so you have lots of room. You may have to use feet. That's it. Nope, one more notch. I got nothing to hold on to. Oh, I went too far, and I launched my screwdriver all the way across the other side.
Look at this dude.
Tool retrieval. God, these things are so well made. Let's use those words. There it is. Good Lord. These things are tough. All right, so now get this. I'll lose my jack here. There we go. And I just use that screwdriver to line up the hole so I can get my ginormous nut in there. There's a joke in there somewhere. I just put these bolts on the same way they came out. By the way, in case I hadn't mentioned that before. Alright. Washer nut. It's not going anywhere. We'll throw some Loctite on that before we crank it down. Alright, and we just got this stuff kind of put back together here.
Are you forgetting something?
Huh? No? I got it.
Okay.
You want to make sure your steering stabilizer is in here, doesn't fall down below, because it'll get locked underneath and you'll have to take this back off to get it up back over this bracket here. Anyway, I'm just putting this castle nut on here just to hold this here, because the bottom part is a little difficult and we don't want this to drop and tug on these lines any more than they already are. Any more than that's going to tear your brake line, and you don't need that. So now I want to get this So what I'm doing now is trying to line up one of the bolts underneath to this unit here from the lower control arm.
You want me to get a shot of that?
Not really. You're just being in my way. So at this point I can go ahead and take the jack out so I can rest this on this, and it'll sit on top of the lower control arm. There we go. Okay, now we can get the bolts up there. Remember to put Loctite on them. These are serious bolts, man. make sure they thread perfectly. There we go. And this is going to be a 19, but we want to get them both going before we start cranking them up in there. It'd be horrible if the car fell right now, huh?
That's why we're smart and use extra safety.
Oh. Little shit. Okay. Now those are a 19. And then you'll crank these down to 121 foot-pounds of torque once you're all put back together and you're putting all your bolts back together. Get those cranked down. Just get everything put back together real quick. Oh. $17. Where did you go? Rolled away. Okay, this one is spinning. So if this bolt, when you're tightening it, starts spinning, this other bolt here, let me show you. You can see this one is turning in it. Get yourself a pair of vice clamps. Just little ones here. Grab a hold of that bolt, clamp those down. They'll hit this, so all you really need to do is just crank your bolt down. And you're done there. And our castle nut, we need a 19 ratchet. There you go. Come on. This as tight as you can to where you can see through one of these castle areas to put your cotter pin in. There we go. And then just lock your little cotter pin in there, and that one's done. And we got this little 10mm bolt right here. And we're just gonna tighten this down a little bit. Other way. There we go. And that's it. That's all that needs. Nothing special. All right, so we've got that. We've got this. We've done this. We've hand tightened these. We got to get our shock all the way on here, and then we'll torque everything down. Shock was a 19, wasn't it? There don't forget your Loctite. Luckily, my other bolt's not spinning. That's it for that one. We got these ginormous bolts back here, and they need to be 121 foot-pounds of torque where I have it. Gotta get this side. Go. And now the bottom one, which was our 19, they are also 121 foot-pounds of torque. One, two. All right. So just checking everything over. From top to bottom, we don't have these tightened down yet. They're on, they're not going anywhere. Once the vehicle drops, puts all that weight on it, it will push everything up so we can tighten those down. And there is no torque spec for those, so just tighten them as tight as you can. These have to be happen to be locking nuts, so I'm just going to tighten them down, you know, nothing too extreme because they won't go anywhere. We've got our ABS line attached to our upper control arm. We've got our upper control arm tied to our steering column. We've got our castle nut on with the clip in. We've got our bolt in here, and it's tightened down. We've got both of our lower control arm camber bolts tightened to spec. We've got our bottom bolt to the shock down with Loctite, and we have our two bolts that attach this assembly, the wheel assembly, to the lower control arm, and they're torqued to 121 foot-pounds of torque. So we are done with this. Now we just have to put the front plate back on in the front, because we're done with our camber bolts here. We had to take that off to get to this bolt. And then we're going to go ahead and put our tires back on. Then we'll get tightened up there, and we'll take a measurement, show you everything, and see where we stand as far as height. Now this was 38.5 inches from the ground at the center of the wheel to the top of here, and the back is 41.5. So we're hoping this goes up another 2 inches and takes us to at least 40.5, and it gets rid of that tire rub at the back here of this wheel well. It doesn't rub on the other side, it's only this side, and it's barely. So let us get taken care of that, and we'll get right back to you. Okay, we've got everything bolted together. We haven't dropped it yet, so we haven't tightened those bolts, but we've got everything on the wheel hand tight. We're going to have to torque those down. Don't forget to connect your steering rod on both sides of the vehicle, or your steering stabilizer once you're done. So all these are just kind of hand tightened as tight as we could, and same thing, we're going to have to wrench these down, but it's in. Let's go ahead and drop the vehicle. And of course we've got the thing back installed, so we'll go ahead and see how much. Well, they didn't pop out too much, so we'll go ahead and get all this stuff tightened down. We'll get the tires torqued down to 86 foot-pounds of torque on each, and then we'll check it out. So hang in there. All right, we got it all dropped down. We got all the 3 bolts tightened on top of the struts. We got the wheels all on and torqued down. Oh, I'm telling you what. Sorry, I'm being distracted. Got our caps back on, we're all good. Now let's fly. Let's take a final measurement and see where we landed up. Now, before we started all this, we were 41.5 in the back and we were 38.5 in the front. So now, woo, 41. That's a leveling kit for you. And that thing's only an inch. The kit that we put on, which confused me because I ordered a 2-inch leveling kit, but the piece that you get is only an inch tall, but it raises apparently almost 2.5 inches on this one here. So, and I'm pretty damn sure we're not going to be rubbing anymore based on looking at this right here. So that was awesome. So for you that want to just level your Toyota and you don't want to put a big old lift kit on it, you just want to get it so that the front's equal with the back, there you go. Rough Country 2-inch leveling kit. I think I like the aluminum one, and they come in red and black as well, but they're anywhere from 30 to 60 bucks depending on what color you get. There's red ones as well. I think I said that. But yeah, just get those. Take the front end off like we did. If you need more of a detailed disassembly on this, check out our lift kit video, number 1. That deals with the front end of the truck. And you should look at the back end just because, so we can get some watch hours. Anyway, if you found any benefit out of this, please like, subscribe, follow along with us. We got a lot more stuff coming up. Electrical, oh my god, there's just a ton of stuff. And I promise on the next video I'll bring you up to date on how much we've spent so far, but I believe we're close to 14,000 at this point in upgrades. That does not include labor, with the exception of putting the 488 gears in here. We did have a $900 labor expense, and I'm debating whether or not I want to replace the front brakes and rotors with a more heavy-duty system, or let the professionals do it. I don't know. Do I want to stop? Probably. Thanks for watching. All right, so we're all done. And what are you doing over there? Are you...
Cut.
She's gonna flash me her boobs. He can see you in the reflection on the screen. Now she's gonna hang me a BA. All right.